Hello, geometry students. I am taking a look at Unit 3, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines, Homework 5, Slopes and Lines, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Taking a look at the top portion of this page, finding the slope of the lines, find the slope of the lines graphed below. What we're going to do is we're just going to go, from point to point here. You don't really need to figure out, you don't need to use the coordinates. You could just, given a line and given a graph, you can count the rise over the run. So this goes up 2 over 1 to the next perfect intersection. You'll see it's right there. I mean, I could go from this point to this point and it would be up 4 over 2 and 4 over, up 4 over 2 is going to be 4 divided by 2, which is 2 anyways. Or, I could just simplify it right away and go up 2 over 1. 2 over 1 is 2. For number 3, notice that for each intersection, I'm going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. I mean, I could do from this point to this point, up 2 over 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. Any number over itself equals 1. So, 1 over 1, it equals 1. My slope is 1. For number 5, this one reading left to right is going down. So I'm going down 5 over 1. So down 5 over 1 is simply negative 5. Using the slope formula, find the slope between the given 2 points. And remember, the slope formula is, I'll write it here on the side. I thought I had it written out. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so use that formula, and I go ahead and I mark my first x and y coordinates and my second x and y coordinates. I'll always do that just to kind of keep things straight. I take my y2 minus my y1. I'm minusing a negative number, so that becomes positive. And then I take negative 6 minus 1 becomes plus 1. I end up getting a negative 4/5. Notice I did the problem over here too. You could switch these. You could have, as long as you keep it, the same. The same, I mean, like if I start, let me get this focused. M equals, I could take my y1 minus my y2, and then I could take my x1 minus my x2. As long as you keep you go with your first y minus your second y, and your first x minus your second x, I mean, if you keep that in order, you'll get the same answer. Notice I get a negative on the top, but the whole fraction ends up being negative 4/5. So you could do it either way, as long as I notice I have my second y over my second x, right? As long as you go that order, and as long as you keep your order straight. For number 9, I'm taking I went ahead and just kept it y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1, and I end up getting no slope. On this one, 0, it's 0 over negative 13. It's no slope because it's going to be a flat horizontal line. Notice my y values are 3, so if I look up here at this graph here, my y values are going to be 3, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, it actually, this is the slope of, this is that line right there. Number 9 is right here. And, my x value, the first one's going to be 8, so it's way out here at 8. And the other x value is negative 5, so that's, right here. So this is actually the graph of this, this line, the slope, it would be. Number 11, I just take my y2 minus my y1 and my x2 minus my x1, and I get a negative 9 over 0. Now this one is going to be undefined. Whenever you have the 0 on the bottom, and if I were to do this on my calculator, a fraction is a division problem, so negative 9 divided by 0, you're going to get an error reading on your calculator. But, understanding this a little bit better, negative 5. So if I use this graph again, both of these are going to be where x is negative 5, And then the first one is -1 for the y value. and then the other one is negative 10, so way down here. So they're right on top of each other. So it's going to be a vertical line like this. I'm just using this graph up here to explain this. So that's why it's undefined. It's going to be a vertical line. Number 13. I have to see if PQ and RS are parallel, perpendicular, or neither when I work out my slope for PQ and my slope for RS. And you could pause this and write these down. I end up getting 3 over 2, 3 over 2. That means they are going to be parallel if they have the same slope. Number 15. I have to figure out, PQ and RS if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. I figure out for PQ, I get a negative 3, and you could work that out on your own also to check me. And RS, I work that out. So PQ's is negative 3, and RS is 3, the slope. So it's not perpendicular. It's opposite, but it's not the inverse. So in order for this one to be perpendicular to this one, we'd have a positive 1/3. So it's neither. 17. We've got to figure out this x value. Okay, so I have this x value here. And what I did was I worked this one out. I figured out my EF first. And my EF, I figured out that I need negative 5 over 2 to make this perpendicular. So I start working this out, and I get the negative 20. And I notice that, I've got to, in order to simplify this fraction over here, I didn't know my 8 yet. I figured out my 8. Yeah, I figured out that I would need an 8 there. So what would get me to 8? What would make this equal this? So this becomes negative 4 minus 16 becomes negative 20. So I'm going to divide that by 4 to get my negative 5. This was negative 10. I divided by 2 to get my negative 5. So I got to get something down here in order for me to get it to 2, because these have to be the same, right? So what divided by 2, divided by 2, what divided, because these were divided by 2. What divided by 4, because this was divided by 4 to get negative 5, what divided by 4 would give me that 2? So 8. 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. And so in order to get this 8, I figured out that I'm going to need a negative 6 in there for that x. Because 2 minus x would have to equal 8. And so I just solve for x, and I get negative 6. So that makes sense. 2 minus a negative would be plus, so 2 plus 6 gives you 8. And so that's negative 20 divided by 8, or negative 28 simplifies to the negative 5 over 2. And so we're good to go with that one. And then number 19, taking a look at number 19, same thing, I got to solve for y. I ended up figuring out, this one first became 8/7, so I'm going to need the opposite inverse. And when I figured this out, I got the 8. I needed to make sure that this was 7, so I needed to figure out, okay, what is going to be y to get that to be 7? Actually, I want it to be negative 7. So what do I need to do to get that to be a negative 7? Well, I need this y to be a 3, because I just solved y minus 10 equals negative 7, and that's going to be positive 3. So if positive 3 here minus 10 gives me that negative 7, so I have the opposite inverse. Okay? Try the other ones on your own and see how you do with those. These, I believe you're just going to graph these, and that should be good. Okay, good luck.